For those of you viewers out there who hadn't seen the earlier Battle of Forley video, I will reiterate that the most shitty thing about this DLC is the in-universe explanation for why this content was ripped out of the middle of the game in the middle of development just for the extra petty coin of $4 a piece. It turns out that the mission sequence just happened to get corrupted in the Animus, but once you pony up for the extra content, Rebecca miraculously discovers a way to get around the memory corruption, something which she could have just as easily done without paying for the service, but whatever. DLC time! It just goes to show that even with a great concept such as the factual historical Bonfire of the Vanities, Ubisoft still managed to fuck it up. The DLC focuses around a dark time in Florence where the monk Savonarola, through his amazing sermons, managed to collect a lot of influence in order to conduct the Bonfire of the Vanities, where Savonarola and his followers would take anything he deemed to be an object of sin to be burned in the streets. This could have been musical instruments, mirrors, playing cards, the tomes, work of art, and artisanal clothing. His bonfires were moderately successful in the history books before he was excommunicated and sentenced to death by fire. Now, doesn't that sound like an amazing time to do some covert stabbing, enemy coercion, and general guerrilla tactics? How do you manage to fuck that up? By centering the entire DLC around a protracted and flimsy-ass boss rush. Now, how many would you think would be unnecessary in an Assassin's Creed boss rush? 3 targets? 5 targets? Would that be a bit too much? Is 6 out of the question? Well, guess how many B to the V has? 9. 9 targets! I know that you want to represent the staggering control that Savonarola and his lieutenants currently have on the people of Florence through his rhetoric and access to the Apple's power, but 9 targets is insane, and it was. Jesus Christ, was this a hard pack to get through? To be frank, the entire DLC is basically an Assassinations challenge pack like you'd see in a Mario game, and the missions are hard as hell, difficulty through the flippin' roof. So there is a real chance to get some puzzling and combat satisfaction from killing really unkillable people, but this DLC pushed me personally over the line to not feeling annoyed by the end, but actively irritated with the entire damn thing. Enough to demand a refund, if I was petty enough to care about $4 flippin' dollars. What did it for me was the ship assassination and the Doma or the Duge assassination. The real irksome thing about this pack is that 4 of the 9 targets have to be killed in 100% stealth. No one can know you're there, and that begs the question, why can we alert the guards to ourselves in some cases, but not in the ones where we have to kill an evil farmer? It doesn't matter how big the mob is, we can deal with an infinite amount of guards if we really need to. The stealth missions are unfair games of patience grinding through trial and error, since it involves a little dumb luck and a lot of waiting. There is some satisfaction to be had at executing the perfect kill and getting away with it by the skin of your brow, but that's followed after 5 instant turnaround failures, which dumps 20 minutes of prep at a 2-second drop of the hat. The ship one really got to me because in prepping the kill, you can't see the target, and he's constantly fucking talking and repeating lines in a loud voice, making it all the more aggravating that you can't find him because you can hear him pretty damn well, and ultimately having to take a blind guess at where his dopey ass is. The challenge pack is hard. Each mission is preceded by a long-ass commute through Florence, and the complete lack of effort in developing this pack is something I personally hate. It doesn't feel like they put any effort into this DLC at all, and just dump some half-baked ideas on the floor without designing them to be fun or any sort of an actual puzzle. It's like if a mission's design was started with the idea of surrounding the target with 30 guards, and having the one actually be picked as that core idea. Jesus Christ, this was so fucking stupid! The names for missions were actually puns! Like stupid 3rd grade joke book level puns. And after spending 30 minutes of my life failing a mission 6 times, what I don't want to see is the next mission being named Port Authority or Hitting the Hay. And the ultimate downside to this whole thing is that after spending an hour putting the entire plan together and killing 9 people, the Bonfire of the Vanities ends on a cutscene of Savonarola being dragged to public execution and mob justice, rather than Ezio getting to deal with him personally. He gets tied to the age-old stake and starts burning to death before Ezio jumps in to end his life beforehand. Also, his voice actor sucked, and he doesn't do anything of substance for the entire DLC. All the Bonfire of the Vanities happened to be was a challenge pack of 9 faceless dumbasses requiring obtuse, precision preparation to be murdered, and the one thing I don't want happening while I'm being this irritated by constant failure is some jackass braying to his followers about how important farming is to a society. I will say at the bottom of this review that the lack of quality that I felt in experiencing this DLC was mostly a personal thing. I think that the challenge stepped way too far into bullshit territory. But if you have more of a stomach and appreciation for the cutthroat achievements, then you might find some redeeming factors in this $4 purchase. However, I will even out that pseudo praise with saying that the tiny mission locations, total lack of named characters, and the wide space between events, and not being able to end the lives of Savonarola personally, does show a lack of effort in Ubisoft's part to put this mission together well or at all, and it simply comes off as half-baked and lazier than Patrick's Star. It wasn't something without potential, it was the goddamn Bonfire of the Vanities. Maybe enough for a 6-hour game, but this was a 1-hour DLC pack. You can make it work if you actually put the effort forward. And obviously, Ubisoft didn't do that.